What we're going to do today is we're going to review some topical stuff that just happened last night, and then we're going to discuss briefly sort of some other pertinent information regarding monetary exchange that most people don't even think about, but I believe is important in understanding our entire economy and government. And then after we get through that, what we'll do is we'll probably cover our current recommendations for investment. And I also want to discuss a story in the Bible because I think it's relevant to the initial story I will discuss. That story being Sodom and Gomorrah. And the reason I say that is because I think that the story is related to the particular subject that I'm going to treat today. The first thing I want to talk about is last night Romney picked Paul Ryan, to be his running mate. And I was sort of thinking about it, and I said, God, I didn't even think about the strategy at all. I was just thinking about the personalities involved. And I said, well, Romney basically, this is the feeling I got about it, Romney basically is picking somebody a lot like himself. This guy's very moneyed, very conservative, So, he'll fit right in with the Wall Street crowd, which is where Romney's from, So, that's perfect in that way. The other thing is I started realizing, well, there's a problem here, and the problem is that Obama's strength is his personality.
Yeah.
It always has been. He has a very strong personality. He knows exactly what he's doing, but unfortunately he doesn't do much.
Yeah.
So that's part of Obama's weakness there, you see. So, but when I think about the two teams, and I'm talking politically only here, if you match them up, the two teams, it appears to me that the Romney-Ryan team is sort of playing against the strengths of Obama. In other words, they don't necessarily have the right stuff to go against Obama, because the problem Obama has is his strength strong enough to electrify the electorate relative to the fact that he has these weaknesses. And the weaknesses are inherent. They're going to be there in 4 years. But and these are weaknesses really also in delegating power and ideas and so forth. This is something that I'm beginning to think may be an advantage for the Republican team. And why I say that is because Ryan is actively involved in just about everything to do with the debt and with the new budget. Okay. He also wants to they call it reform entitlements. That's what he calls it. Okay.
Yeah.
Which I think basically is giving up on the economy. And I personally think that if the economy ever does turn around, that is the cure that we need for the debt. Same thing happened in the beginning of the Clinton administration. Okay, Clinton came in and the economy was a mess. He appointed the Wunderkinds, okay, or the Wonder Boys, okay, including Bob Rubin and so forth. And those guys, they're running out now to tout the Glass-Steagall Act coming back, which is understandable because these guys basically are rock stars of finance. Okay? Now, when I say that, you need to know that back then, these guys, the financial guys that Clinton put in power at that time, were basically financial fringe people. I mean, they had ideas that were totally on the fringe. They weren't mainline financial ideas, but they worked. Okay, and it's like my dad used to say to me. He says, Alan, we'd be talking about street strategy, how we're going to handle things on the street, how we're going to handle things relative to our practice and the street. He used to say, Alan, it's not so much that we need to make the right mistake. It's that the right mistake happens because we effectuated it. He said, if you don't make the right mistake, nothing gets done, really. He says, you got to make the right mistake. And he said, the reason I say it that way is because most of the successes in life are due to mistakes. Okay? And the reason is we're weak and ineffectual. We really get nothing done as humans. Okay? But if we make the right mistake, we start getting things done. And, I started thinking about it. I said, the guy's right. I mean, how many times do you have a plan for something and the plan really fits the problem? Not that often. Not that often. So anyhow, my feeling is that Paul Ryan is an idiot. Okay? I mean, he's fooling around with the debt. He says we can evaporate the debt if we tax right. To me, that's idiocy. I just don't see it, because if we've got a healthy economy, we don't have to do anything. So my basic idea is, like Clinton used to say during that campaign, Clinton versus, I forget who he ran against back then. One of the Bushes, I think. One of the Bushes.
When he first got it.
Yeah, right. So, they were having debates about this, and Clinton finally said, it's right. You guys are right. It's the economy, stupid. That's the problem, is the economy. If I fix the economy, I'm in, So he laid out these plans, and it was the right mistakes. That's why we ended up with the Clinton Wunder era, It was like a wonder era, These guys were fringe financial thinkers, okay, but they came up with the right mistakes. That's what you need. You need the right mistakes. Now, the thing where I think Ryan may shine is that he's going to come up against problems that don't fit into his formula. He's going to have to use unique solutions, and he will start making the right mistakes. If he does that, they've got it made.
Yeah.
Okay. First, they've got to overcome Obama's overpowering personality strengths. If they can't do that, I mean, and it's hard to see them doing it, to tell you the truth.
You're going to need a Fred Thompson-like charisma to pull that off.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. They don't have it.
No.
Okay, they don't have it. So they're going to have to come up with something a little bit more overpowering in order to get into office.
Like real statistics.
Well, I've always said all along that I do not expect the president to be a one-term president. It's hard for me to see anybody powerful enough in terms of personality to overcome him politically. It's very difficult to see it,
And I think there's all sorts of factors that you're kind of damned if you do, damned if you don't. But every decision I saw him making as an 8-year president, because there's a method to the madness. I'm not pro-Obama or anti-Obama. I'm pro-United States.
Right. Me too. Believe it or not.
Whoever the president is, I want the policies to work. I've actually heard people say, I hope his policies fail. I said, well, you can't really say that and be American.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
I could just think his policy is boneheaded. But I don't hope it fails.
Well, the whole thing is, and this is the criticism of the Congress now, is that they're basically into party politics mostly.
Yeah.
And nobody is really pulling for us.
Yeah.
And that's
nobody.
What bothers the public. I mean, and my feeling is, we've all got a vote in our back pocket. We should use it. If they're not doing what they're supposed to be doing, fire them. That's simple.
I think by him not invoking those rules and bylaws that he could have, as far as overpowering the 60 votes on some of those decisions,
Right.
I think what he was doing was putting favors in his back pocket from the Republican side for the next 4 years.
Well, that's quite possible. I wouldn't doubt it.
Because think about it. Wouldn't you have chosen a stronger candidate than Romney? And wouldn't you have had a tougher fight until the actual Republican National Convention than just handing it over to somebody? I think they handed it over to the best guy who will lose. Because
possible, that may be their strategy. You never know.
Because the big dogs in the Republican side, I don't think care too much if they hurt Romney's feelings versus some other candidates that are, to me, better opponents for Obama and more entrenched in the real politics of what goes on. Even though Romney's a politician, I see him more as an outsider a little bit. I've never thought of Romney in the last 20 years as an insider of what's going on. He's not a John McCain. He's not one of the guys that I think sits at the table. I think he's an elitist Republican.
Well, he is an elitist Republican,
but not a gritty Republican.
To be kind, though, is to say that basically he's an outsider, which is good these days. We need Washington outsiders to run the country. That's what we need. Yeah. We need people who aren't looking at old, tired routes in order to solve Washington problems, as opposed to American problems.
Yeah.
So Romney may be the right outsider at the right time. You never know if he can get elected. I agree with you, though. It's an uphill battle for these guys.
As long as you're a six-figure-a-year plus person, I think it'll be good for you with Romney and as president. But most of my family and cousins and close relatives are not near my income bracket.
Right.
So I'm wondering what they're going to do, because I hope they're not going to call me on the phone and ask me. I'm only 38.
Well, we bring these things up because they're topical, number one. The membership will want to know what we think about these people and where we think we're going. I think there is a chance that Obama, in a second term, will pull it all together. The other thing is the economy is basically healing itself. If the economy heals itself enough, then it will barrel along, and we may actually get it off the launch pad.
Darwinism.
Right.
Hey.
Right. Absolutely.
Works for humans.
Well, I mean, we've gone through these cycles millions of times, or it seems that way, So we're getting used to the fact that nobody really wants to help us.
And on that note.